call from?
Randall.
An inmate at the Virginia Department of Corrections, Red Onion State Prison. To accept this call, press 0.
It's Red Onion Randy, and today I'm going to talk about the situation I had with LA at Wallace Ridge. It's a little bit violent, it's a little bit graphic, so if you have young children listening, I would advise you to send them into another room. After Buckingham, because I went to Buckingham as receiving. So when I left there, I got sent to my real prison, and according to the security points that I had over 36 security points. I had actually like 50-some due to the nature of my charge and my age and how much time I had and so on and so forth. So I go to Wallace Ridge. It takes forever to get there. It's pretty much have to drive all the way across the state. And it's up on the side of a cliff. They literally had to cut and blast parts of the cliff off just to be able to build that prison in Big Stone Gap, Virginia, which is where Wallace Ridge State Prison is located. It was an okay prison. The food was good. I really didn't have a lot of problems. You know, I was in population. I had 2 cellies. Me and one cellie, we got into it. My first cellie, we got into it. We didn't really fight. We got in each other's face, and, you know, some noise was made, and a CO was walking by and heard it and looked in the window and witnessed us getting ready to fight. And he moved my cellie out to another cell, and then I got another cellie. I can't even remember who he was. I had the tutor job because I was the only person in the pod that had a GED or a high school diploma. So I'm at the table doing my work, grading other people's schoolwork, when LA, his buddy, I can't remember his buddy's name, and this other guy, they sit down at the table, and it's just a little sort of octagon table with 4 seats on each side. So I'm sitting there, and they start talking to me, so I start talking back. And LA's 6'2", about 230 pounds. He's pretty big boy. But he kind of ran the pod. At least he thought he did. You know, everybody looked up to him. Everybody was scared of him and terrified of him. And, you know, he was known for raping dudes. He's known for being able to fight. You know, he's known for having heart, being a straight-up gangster. That's his reputation. You know, and the guys who hang with him, who run with him, they're of the same mold. His buddy is, you know, he killed the CO. He hung a CO off the tier at the wall back in the day, and he was actually on death row. And he was good with the law, and he got himself off of death row and back into life in prison. You know, and these are the kind of guys that are sitting across the table from me. So as I'm sitting there working, LA starts talking to me, and he asked me, he said, "Hey, man, what would you do if somebody would rape you?" I stopped what I was doing. I set the little security pin down, and I looked him square in the eyes. And I told him, "Look, I'm not going to sit here and be foolish enough to say I can't get God. Anybody can get God. But I'm going to tell you right now, when you pull out of me, you take my T-shirt off, you wipe your cock off, and then you push the little button on the side of the wall for the intercom, and you tell the COs in the booth to get you the hell out of Dodge. Because when I come through, I'm going to slit your throat." "Oh, white boy, you a bitch. You ain't going to do nothing. All white dudes are scared. Y'all faggots. That's all y'all do is suck the dick." I said, okay. I ain't say nothing else. I just got up and walked off. So I was in the cell with Tennessee. That's his name. His name was Tennessee. And they went outside on the rec yard, but I stayed inside because it was cold and I just didn't want to go outside because this was in November. It was November the 27th of 2000. So I stayed inside and I was listening to Tennessee's Walkman. And as a matter of fact, I was listening to Metallica's Black Album. And I was in the cell just jogging in place. Tennessee comes back in off the rec yard and he waves his hand in front of my face because I got the headphones on and I can't hear him. So I take them off. I'm like, what's going on? And he said, look, man, we got problems. What's up, dude? He said, look, man, L.A. and his whole crew just pulled up on me and told me I have to move out of this cell so L.A. can move in the cell because he's going to move in the cell and he's going to knock you out and rape you. I said, man, if I had a knife, I'd slit his throat. He said, for real? I said, yeah. He said, good, man, because if I don't move, they're going to bank me. He's going to get his homeboys to beat me up. I said, yeah. So we took the old school cassette tapes. You got the little plastic case that comes with them. And we broke the little side pieces off where you had just two flat pieces. And we took a lighter and we melted them in the middle. And we folded them over and pressed them down. And then we took it and melted them two together. And we melted three brand new razor blades along the edge of it. And the very last one up near the tip, we cocked out just about a quarter of an inch to give it, a better cutting surface. And then I took a sheet and I ripped some strips off and I braided it together and I wrapped it around the bottle of the plastic to make it handle with good grip. So once we got that made, the next morning, I packed all my stuff up. Now, Tennessee, he wants to come outside, but he's scared, so he wants to stay inside, and he was back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And finally, I got tired of it. I said, look, man, if you're going to come outside, this is what I want you to do. I want you to pull up on L.A. and his homeboys, and I want you to walk him diagonally across the yard and just tell him, look, you know what, man, the white boy ain't giving me no ass, so I'm going to go on ahead and fall back. I'm going to move to another cell with somebody else, and then you can do what you got to do, and then I'm going to walk up and I'm going to slit his throat. He said, all right, bet. I said, but if you don't come outside, make sure you're sitting on the top bunk and you looking out the windows, because at the time they didn't have the windows frosted up. You could see in and out the windows. And you watch me go out there and put that work in. So he's like, all right. So he was like, man, you know what, man, I'm just going to stay in. I'm going to stay in, man. I'm going to stay in. So I'm like, all right, that's fine. So they pop the doors, and I step out. And at the last second, the door's about halfway closed when Tennessee changes my like, I'm coming out. So I have to grab the door. The COs are yelling at me to let go of the door, but I got to hold it so he can get out. And I almost got locked up for that, but they didn't say anything once he stepped outside. And we went outside, showed up, I motioned to him. He pulled up on L.A. and walked in diagonally across the yard. I walked up behind him, and the lieutenant was on the rec yard at the time, but he was over on the other side, and the rec yard was pretty big at that point. They hadn't put no fences or anything up. I motioned to Tennessee to walk L.A. across the yard, and he does so. And you had the lieutenant, the building lieutenant, was on the rec yard, but he was over on the other side away from us. So I walk up behind L.A. as him and Tennessee and the other guys are talking. Tennessee sitting there, setting them up. So I walk up behind L.A., and I reach around with my left hand, and I palm his face. And I put my right knee in his lower back, and I stretched him backwards, and I pulled a knife, and I sliced it across his throat from ear to ear. When it gets about almost a little bit over halfway, the handle that's connected to the top part snaps on me, and it breaks. And LA, he spins around, but while LA is spinning around towards me, his homeboy, who is the one that hung the CO from the top tier at the wall back in the day, he screams like a girl, "Oh my God, no!" And he dives like Superman, hits the ground, rolls up, and then jumps up on his feet and runs across the yard screaming for help. LA turns around and he's facing me at this time, and I just start firing on him. I catch him with like a, I punched him in the face a lot. It was maybe 8, 9, 10 times. I just called him, and he stumbled back and he swung, and he busted me in the mouth, and I stepped back. It's like, I mean, he's a big boy. He chipped a couple of my teeth. And Tennessee, I guess, once he saw what I was doing, I guess it got his courage up. I guess he didn't like being threatened, or so he hauled off and he hit LA in the side of the head, and he knocked LA down on the ground. And he jumped on top of him and pinned his elbows to the ground with his knees and just started punching him in the face. So I'm like, all right, you gonna rape me? I'm gonna make it to where you never rape nobody ever again. So I jump between LA's legs and I just start punching him in the nuts. I'm doing my damnedest to bust both of them. I mean, I want to do irreparable damage to this dude. You gonna rape me? You gonna, man, hell no, man. You ain't doing that. And so, I mean, I light him up. All the COs in the booth, they started shooting the riot guns, the shotguns that they have that fire rubber bullets and big rubber balls, and it sounds like Vietnam out there. I mean, they're just shooting and shooting and shooting, and you got that big, huge rock cliff up behind the place where it was built on, you know, and it's echoing down through the valley and whatnot. I mean, it was, yeah. And I see the lieutenant and them running, so I roll on my back, and I roll about 10 feet away. And I just lay stretched out because that's what you're supposed to do on the yard when they fire the guns. You're supposed to lay down face first if you don't have anything to do with the fight or what's taking place. And that's when the lieutenant comes up and he sprays Tennessee in the face with the mace. Tennessee falls off. They cuff both of them, and they get medical attention out there for LA because he's bleeding pretty bad. You know, he's bleeding like a stuck pig. And I almost get away with it. You know, I'm over there by...
You have 1 minute remaining.
I had the sense to roll away, but the female CO in the booth saw me, you know, cut his throat and everything, and she started screaming out to the COs that responded, get by, he done it, I saw him do it, he had the knife. And I wound up getting busted for it. But that's just something you can't do in prison. You can't, if you're going to do something, do it. Don't give somebody a warning. You know, I'm a pretty peaceful guy for the most part, but if you threaten me with something like that, I'm going to strike, and I'm going to strike first. This has been Red Onion Randy. Unfortunately, we're out of time again. Hope I didn't scare you off, and make sure you check out my website, redonionrandy.com. Take care and stay safe.
Thank you for using GTL.